So I thought I would do a tutorial on how to draw eyes because I have a friend that is getting into drawing and she keeps asking me about how to do eyes. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do eyes. I mean, you have your typical like anime style where you've got that going on. You can do the complete realist style, which looks a lot more like that. I tend to do a little bit between the two, which is, I mean, you guys have seen me draw, so it's not anything new. It looks a lot like that. Except if you do guy eyes, because this is obviously a very effeminate eye, so usually when I do guy eyes, I do a lot less detail, and I honestly just stick with that. And then I do the details in the eye when I'm coloring it. I mean, you can obviously still do things like, like that, so that way at least you know where the eye is. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm really just going to kind of stick with doing what I know best, which is those. But I will leave these up for you guys, and you can look at them if you want. Let me just move them. I'm not going to tell you about all the stuff I'm using in Photoshop because that's a completely different tutorial, and I mean, in what I'm teaching you right now, you can do on a piece of paper, so we're just going to stick with that. Alright, so... Oh, I have dogs, by the way, and they will bark in the background, so I'm sorry if that becomes bothersome. I have two very large German Shepherds, and I don't know why, but my girl dog has, like, the bark that, like, shakes the foundation of the entire building. If anybody, actually reads Dresden, Mouse, when he does a bark at one point, it's like that, I swear, like, you can hear it, like, all the way down the block. Alright, so I'm just gonna go back and I'm just gonna just make sure that my eye shape is a lot more solid. Actually, let me take that back. I'm going to make another layer because that will make my life easier. Alright, here we go. Let's try that again. So again, you just kind of start with the eye shape. A lot of times when I'm drawing, sometimes I'll actually start with the eyes because it's a lot easier when I'm doing a face to start with where the eye placement is than it is to do anything else. And you know what, just for the sake of it, we'll do 2. So again, it's between the realist style and the anime style. And if you guys ever want to like learn how to do it the more realist style, I mean, I remember when I took art class and it was like I was trying to draw a guy and my teacher was like, no, he needs lashes. And so by the time I was done, he looked like somebody that was in like transitioning from him to her. It was really awkward. Alright, so here we go. We've got kind of like our base idea here. So I'm obviously going to have it female, and I'm going to add in a bit more detail. I don't like to draw individual lashes. It takes up a little too much time, and I also think it's unrealistic. I just do the simple cat eye thing. Makes it look effeminate. I don't have to worry about individual lashes. And it's also, I think, a lot more feasible. Like if you're, I can't speak for all women. I mean, I've seen some women and they sit down in front of the mirror and they put on those fake lashes that go all the way up to their eyebrows, and it's impressive, but it's not something that everybody can do. So, alright, so I've got the basic eye shape here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw on the eyes. I actually have slightly half-lidded eyes, so my eyes, when I draw them, always seem to reflect that. So, yeah, there they go, they're playing. Fear not, I am safe, it's just a beast. Okay, so, there's a couple different ways that you can do this. You can, I always have my eyes look off either to this way or that way, because having them look straight at the camera while looking nice can also make your character look cross-eyed if you're not doing it right. So I usually like to avoid that entire debacle and just not do it. But, you know, for the sake of this, we'll do it today. So, yeah, she looks really tired already. I haven't even done anything. Okay, so here we go. And what I like to do is I like to put the pupil in, but notice I'm not actually like coloring in the pupil. The reason I do this is because I think that it's really harsh. I mean, if you did ever look at another eye tutorial, they're gonna basically just do it like that. And I mean, you can do that. I mean, it's not too bad, but you know, I do a lot of that when I'm doing the coloring. So I'll just save that one for later. Here we go. Okay, so I'm fussing with this a lot more than I actually do in my drawing, because in my drawings I don't really care that much. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to figure out what eye color you're going to do. I'm going to do an unnatural one, which is purple. What are you two doing? Stop it. Alright, and what you just saw there was me not setting this to color mode, so give me 1 second. Don't flatten, please, thank you. Alright, so, going back to it. Okay, so purple eyes. Oh, did that wrong. Cancel. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Control Z. Alright, let's try that again. Okay, so, and I'm gonna lock that mofo down. Alright, so when I pick an eye color, I pick something that's a little darker, and the reason for that is because of the shading that you're going to do later, and the coloring and the lighting, and it's just easier if you pick a darker color and you do it with that. So let me make sure I got all of it. Alright, so, and then after that, I pick a darker shade of whatever I'm working with, and then I do the pupil that way. This color that you also pick, you can also use to do the details along the edges of the eye. Man, she looks so cross-eyed. Alright, so because a lot of times when you do eyes, you need to remember that they're kind of three-dimensional. So there's a couple things that I'm going to do to try and give it that look. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to darken the outside of the eye, because if you look at a regular eye, I mean, they've obviously got, you know, this going on, and we're not going to do that because that belongs more with this eyeball, and we're not doing that eyeball, we're doing this eyeball. So here we go. So, and I will tidy that up later. If you look at some of my other like live drawings, you'll see that normally what I do is I draw in the white and then I do that. I usually don't start on like a white piece of paper like this. Alright, and that doesn't... no, that looks okay because this side's closer, so it makes sense for it to be fatter. I will, however, tidy that up because that's going to drive me nuts. Okay. So once I do the outside, then I'm actually going to very lightly go right here under the eyelid. And this is not going to be like one of those super realistic tutorials where you can see like, you know, the camera and like the reflection of the eye. I'm sorry, I can't do that. I mean, I could, but no thank you. Okay, so, and then once I get done with that, I'm actually going to go a deeper shade of purple, and I'm going to do a bit more with the pupil. I'm not going to do it all the way through because typically what I do is I have the light reflection going this way, so there's really no point in me doing it all the way through. Alright, there's that. Okay, so. Alright, so now we get to do the fun stuff. I'm going to come here and do... So I pick a really light color, and then what I do is right here, not all the way around, mostly right here. I pick a really light, almost neon color, and I work it into the eye. This eye is a lot larger than what I normally work with, so it looks a lot more blatant, which is totally fine. And then very, very lightly you pick white and you do it on the inside. Doing this makes them look a lot more vibrant, and I actually just like, I've been doing it that way for a really long time. Actually, it makes the eyes pop out a lot more. And I'm just smearing this a little bit so that way it's not so bleh. There we go. Yeah, normally I don't do that. There. So you can kind of see what I'm doing here. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually on top of both the eye drawing itself and the eye color, I have another layer, and I call it eye shine. And this usually has to do with light coming from any given direction in the room. For the sake of this tutorial, it's coming from... Okay, got that. Cool. It's coming this way. Come on. There, it's coming from there. So usually I just do it kind of like that. Don't mind them. So when you do eye shine, obviously you've got like the more obvious I can't talk, the more obvious source, which I mean that's where you get the bulk of it. But if you want to get super 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 detailed with these kind of eyes, the other thing that you do is right here on top of where I've got that at, you put like just a little bit right there. And I usually just stick it to 2 lines. I don't do anything super fancy after that. Because normally when you do a drawing, you have other details to worry about. And, skin tone, light direction, shading, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of how you do that. Yeah, I heard you. Let me pull up a drawing real quick. I should have had this ready at the beginning. I'm very sorry. Star Wars, I've got a couple in there like that. I don't know, can you see it in that one? I take that back. I can't find it now. I thought I had one for you guys, but I don't. Pretty sure I do, though. Let me see. I'm determined to find this now. Dog with a bone. Let me see if you can see it in this one. I did this one a little over 2 weeks ago. And this is a good example of when I'm saying that you don't have to always worry like so much about the eyes. So here you can kind of see what I was talking about. I've got the eye shape, I've got the color, I've got like the slight neon, and then I've got the eye shine. So that's kind of how you can do it in a larger scale drawing. I mean, obviously, and when you make it like this large and you zoom out on it, I mean, the eyes really do pop out there, but of course it doesn't like conflict with anything else. And there's a guy drawing here. That I did. Let me see if I can pull that up. Come on. Need to start having these ready. Let me see. Where's Sagrin at? Sagrin's a good example. Mr. February, where are you? Okay, so maybe this isn't the best example for guy eyes. I mean, this is a Zabrak. So they've got some funky eye shit going on. So I didn't get too crazy with it. I mean, if you guys ever go into like working with sci-fi or mythical creatures or whatever, you need to like go do like your research on them. And just to let you know, Zabrak eyes are not very pretty to draw. I mean, this is literally how they look. They've got the colors, and then they've got the red outline, and then they basically look constantly bloodshot. But here you can also see a little bit about what I was talking about, the neon colors, da-da-da-da-da. I did not bother with the shine on this one because when I zoomed out, it just didn't seem to like fit it. It made it look a lot more effeminate, and I didn't think he was a very effeminate character. Alright, well that was it. Thanks.